Sorry, really. My apologies.
All right. Let's get started. Betty is in another meeting elsewhere in the building apparently, so she said to start without her, so she'll be here soon. So we'll start. You want to do number 2 before number 1, or start? It's your call.
Yeah, I could show that,
All right,
because I think it'll only take a minute.
We're going to go out of order on our agenda and go to number 2, which is what we do with these policies on the website.
We had talked last time about the fact that as we've been updating through the New York State School Boards Association, we were using the e-policy. So they take the policy and they load it for us. And that is the policy piece that you have already seen. It looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
You click on here, and it's all searchable. You can check each policy as you go. But what we talked about last time is that as this is a process of month after month reviewing, there are other policies not on e-policy because they weren't created through the New York School Boards Association. So what I asked them to work on was kind of an in-between step. So while we're moving towards all of the policies being available through e-policy, to take the other policies, which as you know are just a book of page policies, and since it's hundreds of pages, break it down so you could have the 1000s, and anyone who wanted to search it honestly could just go through and every policy would be there for the 1000s, the 2000s, all the way through 9000. So you wouldn't confuse old policies and new policies. We know everything that the board has done would be in the e-policy section. It would still be there, still be searchable. In the meantime, we'd have this resource so that the policies aren't just sitting on a shelf. Folks, ourselves included, would have access to it.
Perfect, that's great.
Would they be able to, like, I know, was it the 8000s or the facilities, or would they be able to put something like section 2000?
Yeah, we could name it,
Okay, good.
section, and again, it will be a little confusing because part of the change over to school boards, you also change the numbering system. So the 3000s, so what we could do is keep that, we could go through it and pull it out, keep that exclusively the policies that don't exist in there, but we could do it, it'd be slightly confusing, 2000 and 3000. So in the existing policy book, I believe a lot of the 6000 policies would be 7000. So,
Okay.
but we could, I think you could still do that so that you'd have an idea that zeros are the bylaws and introductions, that the 2000s are student policies, the 3000 are certificated employees. So to make it a little easier rather than somebody just searching. But you could also include, and maybe it would be a good idea to keep it even separate on top, a table of contents.
Right.
You could maybe make that the first thing, table of contents. People can list down and then, go to search.
And they prepare that for us, or do we have to prepare the table of contents?
This is the old style book that we prepared in-house.
Okay.
So it would just mean going through the old book, taking out what exists in e-policy so that there's no confusion. And then as, say, we do a policy, we take it out of the old, just take out the page, rerun that PDF. And this is the system, easy, that we use. We already have a contract with them. We use it for things like the code of conduct and the course offerings. There's no limit on pages, so there's no minimum amount of labor to get it in place.
But then you would have to do the
Scan it
doing all. I mean, it's easy for me to say, yeah, that sounds great, but
We could scan, we did this.
it's a doable project.
They were able to do this pretty quickly.
Okay.
What they didn't know in MIS was what's used. So this is just a mock, just try to give an example.
So we have to just take out the policies that have been done already.
And probably you and I could sit through that in between
Okay.
both our recollections.
Okay.
And then what we would do then is, maybe have the list of the two. Would be under board policies. We'd put the e-policies, which are the newest, on top, and those policies, then we would just break them in sections and folks could scan through and find them.
Okay.
And this is savable, printable, and then eventually the need for this would drop
go
off.
away, right? Okay.
And it wouldn't mix, so you would never have to then go into the new creation and pull out old. They'd be side-by-side systems.
And we don't have, how much more do we have till we're, oh, actually, it's until we update, I get it.
Yeah, we got the 5000s and the 9000s coming in February.
So we're getting there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, so it won't be too much longer until anyone in the district can go on that website and at least it'll be up there. And
It'll be
I know-
yes.
there'll be something up there, I know we're saying
Might
the
take some
wrong.
explaining that there's
Sure.
two different types, but that certainly the access will be there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, well, I think that sounds great. So then let's go to our 7,000 policies. First one, and we got a lot, so let's just go through whatever we can today, and then if we don't finish it, we can add into next month's agenda. I don't think any of them were absolutely urgent policies, not in the thousands, but first one is facilities development goals. And I had just two questions on the second note that's in bold. The list is not exhaustive, the board should modify the list to address local concerns and district needs. So that's what I'm asking you, Patrick.
Yeah, I had wrote a question mark to if we were gonna look for that, would we gain information from the facilities committee?
Okay.
In terms of what would those, additional, if there was, something we were gonna add a 9, 10, 11, what would those be?
Okay. So that's something we can follow up with the facilities committee.
Yeah, and I would suggest that we talked briefly about this, superintendent of schools or designee. I don't know, if that committee meets monthly, is,
No, the board facilities committee, no, meets as needed. I would tell you, looking at the list, it's pretty generic enough that it would capture what a school district would want. I think that leaves you flexibility within what's listed there as the 1 to 8,
Okay.
but they meet as needed, that committee.
but in terms of a status report, is there?
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, that's what I was
That
gonna
my
ask. I had that
question.
also, that it's bolded on a
Yeah.
monthly basis. If it's so, it seems frequent to me.
That you'd have a big change in the facilities goals from October to November.
Yeah, maybe we change that to as needed. See, my thought was as needed or something like that, but then I'm like, well, if it's bolded, is that a problem?
Yeah, I mean, the whole policy is not a required policy, so I would think that gives us leeway.
I'd be comfortable with saying as needed. I don't, like you said, it's goals. I mean, how often do you have to reset your goals on something? You don't do it every month. Okay.
I mean, potentially then, we could, rather than delay this a whole month or two, we could make those small changes, designate as needed, put it up for first reading
And see
in
if,
February, and if the facilities committee in the meantime sees a need to add a 9 or
Yep.
10, this way we don't lose a month of first read time.
I like that. I just don't know, who runs the facilities committee?
I have to look on the
Yeah.
sheet.
Okay, Marie, it's,
Let me,
It's probably right on my side.
I think Diana chairs that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really matters, but I typically capitalize state.
Diana,
I'm
Betty,
fine with
and
that.
Paul.
It kind of varies, it's sometimes hard to read the way
Mhm.
they don't, but
Sure.
I think it's,
No problem.
Diana, Betty, and Paul.
Diana Benny-Paul, okay. All right, so anyone have anything else on 7,000? Okay. 7,100, facilities planning. I'll comment on this one, and I think I'll have a lot less comments on these policies than we've had, the ones we've looked at so far this school year. Do we have these? I don't mean this, like,
We do, we have plans that were developed a number of years ago that we literally look at on a daily basis in my office and with facilities
Okay.
to identify what's needed for the district.
and that 5-year capital facilities plan, again, this is just something I just don't know, so that's why I make a question.
Yeah,
So that's something you update
On a-
as new projects? Okay.
absolutely, as on a regular basis. We don't redo the entire report, but we add to, take away as we have transfer to capital projects.
Is that a big document?
Yeah, big document and huge amounts of work behind it.
Oh, no, that I know, I
Absolutely.
just,
Yeah,
I
but
wanted-
physically a big document, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. At some point, I'd probably wanna take a look at it and familiarize myself with it, just so
Yeah, you can come to my office anytime.
Okay.
Absolutely.
will do. Then other than that, I had no thoughts? Everything on 7100 sounds good to me.
Yeah, I would do the same, add designee, the superintendent, but just kind of as a matter of practice.
Yeah, Patrick, Stephanie, Patrick and I were saying, I think, before we were here, on a lot of these policies, it says the board delegates the superintendents of schools, blah, 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 but obviously the superintendent's delegated, designated somebody to do a lot of this, so we'll change it to or designee on every one of them pretty much. Unless there's some that you can't. The next one I have, that didn't go out of order, is 7365, which is construction safety. Had just two things on this one. On the second page, and I hate sounding like I don't know a lot, but when I don't know something, I just would rather ask questions. And facilities is not something I was involved with this far in the year. Where it says conduct a walkthrough inspection with the Health and Safety Committee, what is that as far as our district? That's not our facilities committee, right?
So that for us is, and I didn't have a lot of time to digest these,
Yeah, no, I
so
know.
I'm just wanting to read it.
Sure.
That for us is our, if they're talking about the yearly walkthrough, that is done by the Board of Education. And we do that typically very late August, or very, very early September, September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, before school opens up, and we walk each building.
Right, that I remember
Yeah.
was
So that-
scheduled.
That must be what that's referring to, only because it says to be reopened for use.
See,
I'm
that-
assuming that means in September.
And that's why, right underneath it, that's where I was confused, because it says note, and I understand, Emery, just
Yeah, yeah.
looking at it now. Under 155.4D of the Commissioner's Regulations, the board is required to appoint a health and safety committee composed of representation from district officials, staff, bargaining units, and parents. Policy 8112, Health and Safety Committee outlines responsibilities and roles, and I believe that's one in our file here, yeah.
And I manage a health and safety committee that we met as long as I'm here and have been meeting for years before me, which is a pretty comprehensive group of members of different bargaining units, so everyone is kind of assigns a person to me.
So that would probably be what, when they say Health and Safety Committee.
I do have that committee, but again, that committee, the purpose of that committee is to not to do the walkthrough. That walkthrough is conducted by the board as per board policy, and I also believe as per educational law, that the board is required to do those walkthroughs, which they do every year, right before school opens. I do have a committee, we meet on a very regular basis, typically once a month during the school year, and we discuss a myriad of safety and health items.
Okay,
On a-
Just
then,
because I was on that committee when I was
Mhm,
PTA
yeah,
council president, and once the REMS grant was up,
Correct.
then I was no longer a part of the
Correct,
committee.
we kept it as an internal committee because some of the items that were discussed were sensitive, that we needed to be able to have that dialogue with the employees to address what was going to happen. So if there's a provision that says that the committee must have certain members, then we should revisit that.
Yeah, because it says, and parents, so then I guess a revision would be made, because it would be as necessary, because like I said, when I was on
Yeah.
there, I was representing the PTA.
Right, as part of the REMS, because we needed that
Yes.
to be able to get that grant money.
Right.
so I think then, for this post-construction, conduct a walkthrough inspection with the Health and Safety Committee to confirm. I think I'd be more comfortable if we just confirmed with Jack.
Well, there's something going on now, even with the Health and Safety
Yeah, that's-
Committee's annual
Right.
inspection. And we've been hearing about that for quite some time, that the law was changing and the annual walkthrough inspection was going away, but it hasn't happened.
annual
They're
visual
saying
inspection.
talk to your attorneys.
Yeah.
Yep,
I think this is different, I think they're using interchangeable words, but I believe
But
that's,
when you connect it to 812,
is that what's in A12?
yeah,
Okay.
that's what's in 812, so they're recommending
Yes, it needs
812, but
to be
at the same time saying, we're not sure where to go with 812, check with your attorney.
Mhm.
yeah, and that's why I look at this as, okay, you're doing a construction project, you gotta do this, you gotta do that during construction, and we are obviously talking about doing construction work. After construction, whatever the Health and Safety Committee, and they capitalize it as if it's an entity, has gotta walk through. I don't think, just the way I read it, I don't know that the board going once a year is what they're contemplating here. I think they're saying, all right, we make a new, I don't know, we put a new roof on, although you wouldn't walk around
Well, we
with it.
fixed the atrium in.
Good, we fixed the atrium, thank you, and, this Health and Safety Committee's gotta do a final walk, just because there's so much litigation in constructing, and also I don't want anyone getting hurt. So maybe we can just ask Jack if that's okay?
So we'd be real couple, because this one cross-references.
Yeah.
with some, so we should probably look at those together, and if we have to hold on one of them, it would make sense to do
Yep.
them all together, so that as they cross-reference, everything's in good shape.
Yeah, I think we'll have a number of questions on that
Yeah.
health and safety.
So our only question really, so our question for Jack is really for 8-12, not because of.
Well, also, if 7365 says after construction's done, the Health and Safety Committee has to do a walkthrough, I guess if we enact a policy, I wanna make sure it fits with what we do, or that we do, I don't want us to just, great, the language is here, and there's 50 policies here, and then it's something that we're blindsided with one day, if there's a problem. So I think we should just check on that, if that makes sense. And the only other thing I had on 7365 is where references, they have 2 boxes where it should be the section symbol. It's just a typo. Anything?
How does a layperson need that section symbol on
I have it on my computer, I don't know.
the,
Yeah.
Insert, it's there, yeah, insert symbol. Yeah.
So that's,
So I was trying to put it in there,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't figure it out. I should have Googled it.
so that's it for 7365, unless anyone has anything.
Yeah, my only other item would be on the exhibit.
Mhm.
I don't think, this would come from the principal.
Yeah.
This would come either from Mr. Feedy
Mhm.
or from
Or
your
the
office.
principal, yeah, depending on
Mhm.
what it is. I
Okay.
think in the,
And they set a pretty low threshold.
they did that,
$10,000 in
that's-
construction.
that's
You
nothing.
get to 10,000
Yeah, very
pretty
quickly.
quickly.
Very quickly. So that, I'm looking at that $5,000 before we have to hire an architect. Lots of our projects cost over $5,000, which we design internally. Then there are many, many projects that we absolutely have our architect of record work with us on. So we may want to revisit, and I don't know what the right number is right now, but we may want to revisit those two, the 5,000 and 10,000, because those may create artificial constraints that would not help us to get a project done.
Right.
So maybe you and I, while we're waiting for Jack on the other question, we could
Mhm.
also look at the 155.5 and see if
Yeah.
those numbers are set or if
Sure,
those are
sure.
just recommended from.
Okay,
Right.
that makes sense to me. 7810, anyone else on that last one? 7810, closing the facilities. Oof. I don't think I'd be here. I'm just kidding. So, I had a couple thoughts. It looks like they're just changing, they've added some additional language to what the prior one was. It says this policy as previously adopted with additional underlined expanded language, which is for consideration of the board. And what they're saying is an advisory committee shall be formed, and then they add in at least 6 months in advance of a proposed closing, blah, blah, blah. I have no problem with most of what they are looking to insert in there. I do like that they are saying it should be an advisory committee and not a steering committee, a term that I learned a couple of years ago. The only thing, a couple thoughts I had on the paragraph, the third paragraph down, such committee will conduct a closing study. The last sentence there, the study shall consider all or some of the following. I think you should take out or some of.
Just put, consider the following.
Consider, yeah, like, so if it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, but I don't like leaving the discretion about what, they all seem like pretty important factors. Okay.
I read the sentence, the parenthetical piece there, there's something wrong, either verbally or in the form or a questionnaire.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that should be in the form of a questionnaire.
Yes.
But it's not a big language
Okay. And then on number 5, the impact of the closing on district staffing requirements. I would think it would make sense to say the impact closing on district staffing requirements and class size. Again, it's nothing that would stop us from doing something, but I think class size is a topic that comes up all the time.
I would make it its own.
Okay, fine.
Definitely.
Okay, let's make it its own then.
maybe after number 7, continuity of
number 7.
instruction, make it a new number 8.
Okay. And then the new, pursuant to section 402 of the education law, after filing of the statement, the district will publish and post notification of the proposed closing and circulation of the notice to elected state and public officials who represent the affected communities. Sounds good to me. So I don't have any other comments on that. Anyone?
Sounds about right.
All right, we've gone through the 7,000s.
Okay, so I think I can put that one for first reading. Just make those few changes.
Now on to the 8,000s. I had nothing on 8,000 support services goal. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Anything? 8,100. Safety program. This is where I sort of got a little confused with, again, with this health and safety committee, and this is the question I'll probably have 10 more times. It says that, on the note, excuse me, it is noted that it seems the function of this committee is similar but seems to go beyond that of the health and safety committee, which is required. And I guess that, what is required, what you're talking about, what you normally do. The board may wish to consider if the Health and Safety Committee has expanded obligation or if that committee meets the intended goals of this program. I'm not understanding that note. I guess it's saying, do we need a separate committee? Which seems kind of odd to me, because if we have this Health and Safety Committee, why can't they
They do everything.
do everything in this area? It would seem like they're the right people for the job.
And then you're coming about having a health and safety committee,
And it's
a
like,
board committee that has
Right.
some health and safety issues, and a PTA committee, and now a second
yeah,
district-wide.
it sounds crazy to me. And then in the first paragraph and the second paragraph, it says safety committee, capitalizing the S and the C. So it's like you're saying, it's anticipating another committee. I don't know. And then this safety committee on the next page, it's to meet bi-monthly to review all safety. It just seems inefficient to me somehow.
Or redundant. It's the
Yeah.
same- Doing the same thing.
It's a local policy, which means it was ours. It's not theirs.
Oh, this is out.
This is a renumbering and description of our policy. So there is the potential that this policy was originally from 1994. So if policy 8112 that they're talking came after, if part 155 and the need for that came after 1994, it is possible that there is no need for a policy 8430, that if we can put our time into the Health and Safety Committee 8112, it could replace 8430.
I agree. I think this seems, as long as there's nothing that the Health and Safety Committee feels they should be doing or could be doing that is not getting done somehow, I imagine we need this other committee. And the other thing is, it says, on the second page of it, safety committees to meet bi-monthly to review all safety and health hazard reports by employees, accident reports, blah, blah, blah. It's to report its findings and recommendations to the board at least annually in August. I don't remember that happening, because I don't think we have such a committee.
No.
So I didn't realize this is just an old policy that,
Yeah, that's it. So when they're on the top, when it's
yeah.
checked as local, it means it was ours. So 8430, look, I'm just scanning it, it's identical. They just gave us back our policy that I would think between 8110
Mhm.
and 8112, that I would think 8100, I would just take those two and replace our 8430 and be done.
Good. So this one, no good.
But now the safety committee, like our safety committee that we have, because it says here that it inspects district vehicles,
No, that is,
do that.
nor should that be
Right.
happening. I wouldn't have lay people inspecting our vehicles. I'm not sure what the value is of that.
I certainly would be no good at that.
You're supposed to open the hood and
You're
go,
right and say, it looks
yeah, it
good.
looks good.
I can put windshield washer fluid in, and I get very happy when I do it. Like a real mechanic.
So what are you supposed to do, like go look at playgrounds and make sure that they're, I mean.
And we have
this
people
is-
who do that, so we have an insurance company who does that on a regular basis for us, so to have a committee go in now,
We can
Right.
abolish,
Follow
we'll
that person
abolish
around or
8430 when we
do it
adopt
is not
8110.
effective use of
And that's why I was confused a little bit about the board walkthrough. I thought the purpose of the board walkthrough is so the board can see, you know, what's going on, but
Okay, so,
what does the board have to do with checking, you know, facility, oh, you know, other than just a lay person's opinion? You know, I don't see how the board.
we found, what I found here, what I found as well in my other large district was, we use it as an opportunity to make sure that all the board members have an opportunity to get to the buildings in a
Right.
very prescribed fashion.
Absolutely.
And they can see usually what's happened the past summer, so
Right.
that when we open the school year, we can talk, and you now have seen, oh, we've replaced X, Y, or Z in a particular building.
Right.
You now know, yep, I saw that, so it's looking
Right.
fantastic. So that's what we've used it for.
But not as for like
To
checking to
identify-
make sure that, you know, everything is screwed in tight. Okay.
Right, we have people who you pay to do that.
Okay, so we are, okay, so that's 8,100.
So we're gonna look to abolish this?
We're gonna not adopt 8100 when we do 8112 and 8110. We're gonna abolish our current 8430, which was from 1984.
All right, so we're up to 8110. And again, if any of these that we go through are ones that just seem to fit that bill of, Betty, we were saying that I was just saying some of the stuff didn't really make sense on some of the 8,000 policies, and it turns out a lot of them are about 20 years old and just not practical for what we're doing and the way we do things. Like they wanted us, or we wanted us to have a safety committee in addition to the health and safety committee, which is crazy. So we're saying we're gonna try and eliminate some of this stuff. That takes us to 8110, school building safety. Now this talks about the actual health and safety committee. So Emery, is that,
Which
that's
I think is my
consistent?
committee. I
And this
would
is
imagine.
consistent with what the health and safety
Yeah.
committee does? Perfect. Then I have no issues with that.
No, they don't, I would say that they would have an opportunity for number 2 to review the building inspections and building condition surveys. They would not be in a position to approve them. I think that that is way beyond their scope and expertise.
Okay,
But to review them, sure.
okay, so maybe we take out review and approve, we just leave it review?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And we go way beyond this list.
Just-
As things come up, we go beyond this scope.
Is there anything you think we need to articulate in a policy, or?
I don't think, I wouldn't limit us to that.
Okay,
We review loss runs on a regular basis. We have guest speakers come in. Our insurance company goes through their risk assessments. Do I think any of that needs to be enumerated? No, because that's the nature of the committee. That, inherently is what the committee is set out to accomplish.
sounds good. 8112, and this is, I think, what you were referring to, Patrick, and I know we've discussed this, at least I've been part of discussions about this, about the annual inspections and how this is sort of in flux right now. I'm not sure how we handle adopting a policy. I'm hesitant to adopt to adapt all these policies to something that might be gone in a year. Anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, it doesn't sound like this, even if it was in full force, is requiring that entire health and safety committee to be on the inspection. If we look down at number 2, it shows at least one member of the committee participates in the annual visual inspection. We know it's gonna be Ms. Caliendo, we know it's gonna be Mr. Feedy, so to meet that, basic criteria is pretty simple.
If we're not gonna do annual visual inspection, are we setting ourselves up for trouble by leaving that in?
Well, I don't, are we,
Well, actually, we're still
do you
gonna do
think
it.
we'd stop doing it?
We have a number of inspections we do,
Yeah.
that if that one's not required, we have
Okay.
a multitude of other ones that we engage in on a regular basis. So I'm looking at the state ed website and it's indicating that it's suspended. In fact, the state won't accept any. So if we do it and try to submit, there is no place for it to go. So as of, I'm looking at something right now, it's suspended until at least 1819. And then at that point, they will determine what to do, whether to eliminate it permanently.
So would it make sense to then say, instead of the annual visual inspection, in visual inspection?
Building inspections, maybe make it more of a generic, because we do that almost every day.
Okay,
And that's driving ultimately our capital project plan.
okay. That makes sense to me. I just, you know, if we're adopting it now, we know it's gonna change, I would probably address it.
And we'll do whatever we need to do. If it
Sure.
comes back, we're required to do it, so we will. So I think eliminating the specific reference to it is smart, so it gives us that flexibility to do whatever happens to be current at that point.
Okay. Anyone else?
So, as the person who has to actually put that into writing.
Yeah.
Um,
Ensure that at least one member of the committee participates in,
You can even say annual building inspections or regular building inspections, because I do that, Mr. Phoebe does that regularly. You know, my security director is on the committee, my transportation director is on the committee. We're doing that on a regular basis for the facilities.
because otherwise, someone could say, but when did you do this annual inspection? And we're gonna say, well, we didn't.
It might be every month, it might be
Right.
every week, but it might be pigeonholing ourselves.
You okay with that, or? 81,
So,
oh, sorry.
so we're removing annual off.
Yeah,
and just-
8115, pesticides and pest management seems okay to me.
You might just want to go back, I'm sorry, Adam,
Sure.
number 5. I think number 5 is implying the whole committee goes and looks at the construction project at completion. That is not what we want to do. So
See, that's
maybe appropriate members of.
what we were talking about in,
We have a policy.
Hold it.
maybe like you had,
7365, the one that I said we should ask Jack, is because it says conduct a walkthrough inspection with the Health and Safety Committee to confirm the area is ready to be reopened.
but you have representatives from every building. So if we do
I
that,
have, on my committee, which is district-wide, I'll have a representative from the administrators, a representative from teachers. I have my security director, my facilities director, my transportation director, my food service director.
do you have an assistant principal or principal from each building?
No, that's in the building level, so that's another committee. I mean, we've got layers of health and safety committees that are going on a regular basis. The assistant principals are typically part of the building level health and
Do
safety
they come
committee.
to, yeah, so they're,
And then they send one
well,
person
if
to
that's our
represent.
whole group, you're not gonna take someone from Tamanak to come visit the atrium at West Hall, but that core group,
Right.
Sure,
So you're
sure.
concerned that number 5, the way it reads, means that this whole committee all walks around together?
Which would never be something I would recommend.
Okay.
But clearly, appropriate people from that committee who happen to be on the committee, but just maybe in their role, it's very appropriate for them to attend that final walkthrough.
Okay, so have upon completion of construction project, conduct a walkthrough inspection
Appropriate committee members
with
to.
appropriate committee members,
Yeah.
and then to ensure the area is ready to be reopened.
But for instance, my architect or engineer is not part of that committee, and if that person does not say, good to go, I don't care what the committee says, I'm going with what my architect says, so.
Okay.
Very-
we could bring that, I can make the same language in 7365. Same thing, we could, match the language in 7365, put them for first read in February. At the time we do first read, you know,
Yep.
ask an opinion of council. If they say it's good to go, then we're rolling right on to second read. If not, we didn't lose any time.
Okay. Betty, just what we had discussed on 7365, the one we're cross-referencing, on page 2, post-construction, it says conduct a walkthrough inspection with the Health and Safety Committee to confirm the area is ready to be reopened for use. So we're trying to make sure we're consistent what we're doing and what we should be doing.
And I don't know if you got to the 8112, I think it's the second page of it, saying that now the committee expands during construction projects.
Yeah.
I don't think that, I do not recommend that that language be approved. That I'm going to be paying for an architect and engineer to be sitting at a committee meeting when
Mhm.
I'm paying for hours of their time that is not at all valuable, because this work is happening specific to the project. I don't need to bring them into a separate committee just to meet this obligation. I don't know that it makes sense.
You wanna say during construction projects, health and safety committee may be expanded to include blah, blah, blah. This expanded committee may.
Could, as long as I'm not bound to do that, because
Right.
I'm not sure that
Mhm.
it makes sense to pay an
Every
architect
time
to
you
sit
use an
there.
architect.
Yeah, I get it.
Would they be a permanent member of my committee? I don't know if it's valuable time spent for them.
Sure, absolutely.
Or money spent.
Money spent at all, absolutely. All this stuff is going on as part of our facilities work that we do, not as part of the committee.
So why do we even need this section, expanded health and safety committee? If we're
I'm
saying that
recommending
you
we
have,
eliminate it
if we're saying,
completely.
yeah, if we're saying we can make the health and safety committee whoever we need, and this is a local one, so this might be some old language, again, that, would be
No, this is
binding or
new
something.
language, it's local because I think as they wrote it here, the committee's required, but the policy isn't.
This is 8112.
Mhm.
Just helps guide it.
Right, this expanded committee sounds, okay,
Okay, so this whole thing.
So we can eliminate the whole second page?
yep,
Do you,
Well,
do you
we
think
hope-
we could take this, just take the idea
Yeah.
of the second page and make a number 6
Mhm.
at the bottom that talks about those architects, construction managers being a resource and available to?
Sure, then I just ask that you change the language at the beginning of that list to say specifically the committee may, or the committee could.
yeah, I think that during construction projects, the health and safety committee may be expanded, or may include, how about make not expanded, may include. So may include an architect, construction manager, contractor, and others deemed necessary.
So we don't remove that idea, show that those folks are
Yeah.
important to the work.
Yeah, so we're basically adding this language as a may.
During construction projects, the health and safety committee may include an architect, construction manager, contractor, and other professionals deemed necessary by the committee.
That's fine.
And the other piece, when we make changes and it goes up to school boards, they let us know if we did something we shouldn't have.
Oh, good.
So there is kind of a legal check on us also. Once or twice, they said, hold on.
Yeah.
So we get, that's part of the service.
8115, pesticides and pest management. Seems okay to me. Anyone have any problems, comments?
I'm just trying to understand that whole winter, spring recess, 10 days at the end of the.
This one was a notice, not a local. My presumption is that it had to have been heavily regulated when you use anything like that. But I did not check out the cited environmental law.
So I think it's kind of become obsolete by design because we're so limited in what we can use that,
Was this one about? Let me see if this was one about. No, this is new. So if it's new and just ran. References are back to 1998.
Yeah, I didn't see any newer references. Your concern is whether the notice dates are sort of outdated or
No,
impractical?
and
or-
like you said earlier, it's making it not just a policy, but practice under doing with the notices. And Mr. Feedy may be able to tell, notice to staff and parents within 2 days of the end of winter and spring recess and within 10 days of the end of school year, which includes the date, look, and product use for each pesticide application.
which required prior notification, so it's, I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about that we would be using that would require that, but I can ask him if he's familiar with anything that would fall into that
So
category.
it may be, like you said, this may be
Nothing
belts and
because
suspenders because we don't use something that falls into the IPM.
So- we're not issuing a notice because we're not doing what they're saying we have to issue a notice for.
Okay.
Yeah, I can follow up with Mr. Feeding on that.
Okay, sounds good. Everybody good with doing some more? 8130, school safety plans and teams. Again, I thought this was straightforward, I didn't really have any concerns about this. I know we have building level emergency response plans. I don't know, anybody have any concerns or issues on this? There's one thing on, actually, I take it back. I do have a couple of notes on the third and fourth pages, but the first 2 pages I was okay with. Okay. On the third page, on the big giant note that takes up most of the page, in bold it says, "The board can choose to create a district-wide threat assessment team or building level teams. This policy is written to authorize building level teams, but the board can use its discretion." Wanted to get your input on that.
We have, I didn't read the policy, so I
Sure.
just want to make a statement. I didn't read the whole policy, I just didn't have enough time to do so. But we have building level teams that meet on a very regular basis.
Right.
They then feed up to a district-wide team, which is the one that I manage. So I would prefer to keep it at a building level team that then feeds to, our director of security comes to all of the district level teams and reports out on what he's hearing at the building levels. So I think that building level is the right way to go. There are
Okay.
nuances building to building, even elementary building to elementary building or middle school to middle school.
So our district-wide safety team, if we go back to page 2 then, this says the board shall annually appoint a district-wide school safety team that includes but is not limited to a representative from the following constituencies: the board, students, teachers, administrators, et cetera, et cetera. Are we, the board's not appointing that though, right?
No, it becomes a business operational matter for me. So I have wide representation. I do not have students.
Right.
Um,
Is this, no, this is a relatively new one though, the school safety plan guidance, June 2010. Is it something the board then has to appoint, or can we just make it the superintendent or designee, something like that?
So there's a document that you have access to at the beginning of each year, maybe in the summertime, which is the emergency management plan. In that document, it indicates who are the building level response teams. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if inherent in you getting that document
That's
to
the point.
review and then ultimately you adopt that document, if that's
Okay.
where that's happening. I
That's-
don't know that that includes my team, which is the district-wide team. That may cover us there because that is adopted every year.
Well, it says, then I guess that's on the next page, annual review and report, all plans shall be reviewed and updated if necessary by the appropriate safety team by insert date, such as May 15th. Is that what we would adopt?
We-
or-
So I believe I'd have to check back to prior board meetings, but I believe we're reauthorizing it sometime in the August, September timeframe. And those plans are adjusted really on a meeting-by-meeting basis if something needs to be changed. So the recommendations, if a change is requested from a building level meeting or from a district-wide meeting, then that is then recommended to be changed in the next review, which is each year. We've spent a lot of time, Stephanie mentioned before, the REMS grant. So that was a Readiness and Emergency Management System grant, which we received here at the district. A federal grant that we utilized to create safety plans that were on par with federal level programs. So we may be beyond what other districts are at, which is where this was planned for. But the board does have have management plans, does have committees at the building and the district level.
So is
those pieces
this,
are in place.
Feels like this one has a lot of moving parts.
that's,
So I don't think maybe we hold this one back from February 8th, spend some time with it, look at it exactly,
Yeah.
look at our,
Yeah.
our committees. And also it cross-references a 9700, which we're supposed to receive in February from
Okay.
school boards. And I always like to, if there's a cross-reference, that we link them together, so it doesn't reference a policy that doesn't exist. Because there just seems to be a lot going on.
yeah,
in
and
this
especially
policy.
with, and then you got the review and the report and the dates when you gotta do the report and adopt it. So I agree, I think that makes sense to hold off for now. Okay. 8140, unsafe school transfer choice.
Yeah, this just seems, it's a link to the Vader reporting, which we submit every year, and it's one of those ones that we've not, received a rating that would require us to have unsafe school transfer, so this is just required by law.
Okay. I don't have any changes to it. The last page of it, where it says the board may but is not required to adopt a provision permitting an appeal. I had no problem with that, leaving that language in.
One thing I may ask is we've been doing the Vader reporting, but let me see if we have a 5710, or again, that's what's supposed to be coming. So we could ask if we can get the 5710, which is on the Vader reporting, which is going to be a required, because it's just law, so I can't imagine it's very complicated, so we could try to get it, but if not, we kind of be in that same place. 5300 we did do, because we asked for that one out of order, they gave us that one. So I'm trying to get 5710.
8220, building and ground maintenance and inspection. And then this talks again about the annual inspection requirement being eliminated. This is a local one. How old is this one? I'm just trying to ascertain if this is one that makes things more confusing, or it's one they actually...
Yeah, this was 8431. Let's see if they gave us suggestions, yeah, they have certainly expanded, because this was our 8431.
Wow.
So it's really worth a look.
Well, it says the entire section on annual visual inspections can be deleted. So I think we may as well delete it. I mean, we're doing this, but we don't have to. That in there, so I would take out that section. But I would defer to Henry on this if you think there's anything in there that needs to
Yeah,
be-
if I could, if it doesn't have to be put forth
Yeah,
for February, if I
absolutely.
can just take some time to go through it and see what's.
Yeah, we're going through a
Yeah,
lot
this is
today,
very
so
good.
that's no problem. We can put that on hold as
That'd
well
be great.
for our next meeting.
And do you have a hard stop, and just any time, just to give it time?
Yeah, whatever time you guys want to stop, so.
I mean, I think we got through a lot.
What's that?
We got through a lot.
All right, want to go to 6:15?
We give everyone a chance to make their way over to Otsego
Yep, good.
again.
Okay, 8330, authorized use of school-owned materials and equipment. I had no changes to this. I thought this seemed like a very good policy. No comments or anything then?
How much has it expanded?
Not a lot. If you put in bullets there, they give a little more specific, but connects to the cell phones and the computer, which we've done. We already did the computer resources on data management, so that's fine to link those.
Let's do one more then, and we'll stop. 8332 is the use of cell phones, and they just added some language in there. Phones are to be used for school district purposes only. Anything other than incidental private use prohibited, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, I think that makes sense. I had no problem with anything in this policy. Figured nobody else did either.
Let's look and see what changes.
Seems like a logical place to stop anyway. The use of credit cards, I know there's some numbers we have to plug in, and I certainly wasn't prepared to tell you guys those numbers. I just wanted to know what you guys were operating under anyway. We have some transportation policies, which probably have some discussion. So we can leave those for next month. Sound good? All right, so we will stop at 8334. We've got a couple of items to look into for next time, and we can try and set another meeting.
Felix, how much do those two differ?
Yeah, they added, most of it is the same because this policy is relatively new. It was revised in 2007. It talks about cell phones to be used for school district purpose only, and anything other than incidental private use is prohibited. In the past we've talked about what that means, and in much the same way as an employee may pick up the phone on their desk and call home and say, I'm on my way home now, doing the same thing would constitute incidental use. So it's something that doesn't increase the cost of having the phone.
And there are just some grammar things in that policy which we can talk about separately, just I think some silly pieces that need to get.
Okay, well done. Thank you, everybody.